Amashvishtamanamapi ashati bhutam atra surupam rupam tassa gajamuri purim maturingo svati Radha Kunda Magiribaram Ahorarika Madhvasam Prapto Yasya Pratidikipaya Sri Guru Tam Natos Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivyachavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vinda Aparana Lakshay Chirprasna Kamani Taram Kamalji Kripa Mahitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarabindam Govinda Damodara Manaveti Govinda Damodara Manaveti Govinda Damodara Manaveti Govinda Damodara Manaveti Hey Krishna Hey Yadava Hey Saketi Govinda Damodara Manaveti Tavevasmi Na Jivamittaya Vina Iti Vikyaya Devitam Narama Charantikam Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudeva, Asmadriya Paramaradhyatama Guru Pada Padma, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad, Ashtotara Satasisimat, Rupanugacharya Varya, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev to Srila Prabhupada and to our whole Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vancha Kalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhubhyavacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Oh, was it offered to Thakurji first? Tropabhukta Shrakanda Vasolankar Jajita. Would have said, by accepting the garlands which offered to the Lord, then I can easily cross beyond the ocean of illusion. Tavamayam Jayevayam. By the causeless mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga, we have been hearing the explanation of the first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam, how in a very beautiful and poetic way, Srila Vyasadeva is explaining his own Vedanta Sutra. So this interpretation is what? Adhyatma-dhipa. It is a lamp that illuminates the heart. So we're still discussing on that level. So we came to the last line. Dhamna svena sada nirastakokam satyam param divahi. I meditate on that supreme truth, who, by the effulgence of his own spiritual form, of his transcendental Dham, completely dispels, completely refutes all deception in the form of so many different types of philosophical arguments. Therefore, we discussed how this is Srila Vyasadeva's commentary on the sutra, Tarko Patishtanat. Logic, reason, is without foundation, insubstantial. So, in Bhaktirasa Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami described that the arguments, the philosophical discussions between the Mimamsakas, different interpreters of Vedic literature, different philosophers. Really, if you study something about the history of philosophy in India, it's like a vast ocean. You can get completely lost in that for thousands of years. And very complex ideas, very well argued also. So he said, this discussion which is going on between the various pandits and intellectuals is like the subaquatic volcano. You know, sometimes there's a volcano which is under the ocean. So when there's a fire, you can put the fire out with water. But this fire is so blazing and so powerful, even being under the ocean, it's still not going out. And so, this is the nature of argument. We saw that our most beloved Nimai Pandit, when he was in his youth, he was performing his Vidyavilas, his enjoyable, amusing pastimes of education. So at that time, he would go around with other students and he would challenge the students and professors of other colleges all over Navadvip. And they took great pleasure, in defeating them all and bringing about their shame and embarrassment. You know, it's scholarship in the Vedic culture is such a very prestigious thing. That kings, they would enhance their reputation by finding the best scholars they could and keeping them in their court. And in this way they would enhance their reputation because this learning was considered to be a great vibhuti. And scholarship, the ability to compose poetry and so on, was very highly respected. So the scholars, they try to explain everything. If they give it said that if a scholar gives a definition, and then somehow or other he can make it more succinct and shorten it, but without losing any information. It is said in India that if a scholar can shorten a paribhasha by one syllable, then he feels the same joy as if his wife just gave birth to a son. So, scholarship was very respected, and the intelligentsia was so absorbed in that world of discussion, but they never come to any conclusion. So Srila Rupa Goswami said, be careful, don't go there. It's like a subaquatic volcano, this fire, it will never go out. Perhaps you know that one day, Nimai Pandit, he was crossing the Ganges in a boat, and he'd just written a commentary on Navya Nyaya. Navya Nyaya, logic. There was an old school of Nyaya logic that was founded thousands of years before in the Nyaya Sutras of Gautam Rishi. But then, in the medieval period, a new type of logic was developed called Navya Nyaya, the new logic. And it had some categories which were not in the old logic and some very clever arguments. So if you study Navya Nyaya, then you can have some experience of I took a course in Navya Nyaya last year to have some experience what Nimai Pandit was tasting in those days. So, the scholars, they would come together and then they would make some proposal, and then another scholar would propose that he would refute that proposal. And sometimes they would bet, they would make a wager, or sometimes it's just, especially it's about the prestige. If you win, then you get the prestige. If you lose, then you become a defeated scholar. You cannot eventually become Digvijay, one who has conquered all directions. So the logicians will come and we can just say, oh, can you see this vase? You see this vase? So there's a candle in this vase, right? Yes? Can see the candle in the vase? Yes? Okay, I bet you 100 Swiss francs there's no candle in that vase. Are you ready to quarrel with me? You have eyes, you can see. There's a candle in the vase, right? You can see it there, it's burning. Right? I bet you 100 Swiss francs there's no candle in that vase. You ready? Fear.
No gambling.
No gambling. In the ashram. Breaks the ashram rules. Because Kali will come in. Quarrel. So, like this, someone would make a statement which seems impossible. And then the other person would try to refute it, or the other person would establish it like this. So we can say, there is no candle in this vase. Why? Because the vase is made of glass. Agreed? The vase is made of glass. So when the person who made the vase, he took the molten glass and put it into the mold. Right? Yeah? When he was making it, he took the molten glass and put it into the mold. So at that time, did he add any wax? No. Did he add a wick? No. You agree with me that it was only glass? So you agree with me that there's no candle in the vase? Right? No. Because the edges of the vase are the limited. The vase doesn't extend outside of its surface. You understand? So there's no candle in the vase. By samavaya sambandha. Samavaya sambandha means the inherence. There's no candle inherently in the vase. By samavaya. But you can say that by samyog sambandha, which means by contact, you can say there's a candle in the vase by the relationship of contact. But by samyog sambandha, there's a candle in the vase. But by samavaya sambandha, by inherence, there's no candle in the vase, like that. So, you did not specify which sambandha you were talking about, samyog sambandha or samavaya sambandha. So I win, give me the 100 Swiss francs. So anyway, now you're all laughing and having so much fun. So now you can understand what Nimai Pandit was doing. He was going everywhere with his friends, and by these types of wrangling arguments, they would have a great time quarreling and defeating the other children and even sometimes their professors as well. So this was his Vidya-Vilas. So one day, Nimai Pandit, he was traveling across the Ganga in a boat, and with him there was another young scholar. His name was Raghunath. Now, Raghunath said to Nimai, Nimai, I have written a commentary on Navya-Nyaya. Do you want to read my commentary? Nimai Pandit said, that's quite a coincidence because I have been writing a commentary on Navya-Nyaya also. Do you want to read my commentary? So then they agreed and they swapped over manuscripts with each other. So they were sitting and reading. So while they were reading, Raghunath was reading and he started to cry. Nimai Pandit said, Oh Raghunath, why are you crying? Raghunath said, I work so hard. I worked so hard writing my commentary. It took me so long, so much research, so many thoughts. But now I'm reading your commentary. No one will care about my commentary because your commentary is so brilliant. My commentary will just be consigned to the dustbin of history. No one will remember it. Nimai Pandit said, so that's why you're crying? Yes, is that all? Yes, give it to me. And he took his own commentary from the hands of Raghunath and bound it up and threw it in the Ganges, threw it out of the boat. It was gone. So you see, in jiva-dharma, there, Vaishnav Das, before he became a Vaishnava, he was day and night thinking, what was in the commentary of Nimai Pandit? Because he was a logician. He was thinking, what did Nimai Pandit? If only I could find the commentary. If only I could meet someone who knew what was in that commentary. And day and night, he was not a devotee, but because he was a fanatical logician, even at night he couldn't sleep and he was thinking, Nimai Pandit, Nimai Pandit, Nimai Pandit. So by constantly thinking and chanting of the name Nimai Pandit, it was Namabhas. Right? Now there's no offenses there in the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, any of the names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And by always thinking Nimai Pandit, then that he accumulated the Agyata Sukriti which brought him into Vaishnav Sangha and he became a devotee. Just by this. So then, that Raghunath, he finished his commentary and it was published. And it was called Taditi. And it was so influential that in India, the history of logic is divided into two periods. The pre-Raghunath period and the post-Raghunath period. So you can imagine, if that commentary on Navya-Nyaya, which was so influential, which made history, was completely insignificant compared to Nimai Pandit's commentary, then think how great was the commentary of Nimai Pandit. But still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bound it up and he threw it in the Ganges. Why? Because he wanted to give a teaching to the whole world. Don't go into this Nyaya. Don't go into this logic. You can learn a little bit because some of the language and some of the aspects of the presentation, because our 6 Goswamis in their youth, they were trained in Navya-Nyaya, so they've used the language and they've used the style of presentation in their own meticulous presentations of Shastra. You see? You may have wondered, how is it possible that Bhaktirasa Sindhu is so brilliantly structured, with every part consistent with every other part, and even Ujjwal Nilamani is more elaborate and more so excellently structured. Why? Because they have, it's their pastime, they're training in this style of very precise explanation. And that is the actual application of Nyaya for Vaishnavas. Because we don't reject everything of all the 6 philosophies. There is some aspect of each of the Saddarshans which is very valuable for us, that we take and use. And there's some part which is incorrect, and we leave that aside. Or there's some limitation that we leave aside. So, the speciality of the Navya-Nyaya is the art of precisely defining something without avyapti dosh or ativyapti dosh. That means without the defect of avyapti dosh, that the definition is too narrow, so it excludes some things which should be included in the definition. Or ativyapti dosh, that the definition is too broad, that it includes some things which shouldn't be included there. So if you see any paribhasha or definition verse of Rupa Goswami, like Anya Bilashita Shunyam, it's crafted in such a perfect way that it precisely fits the exact parameters of what it's describing. In that case, Uttama Bhakti. So it includes every aspect of Uttama Bhakti. It includes Sadhan Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. It includes Prem, Sneha, Man, Prana, Rag. It includes up to Madanakya Mahabhav. Everything. So from Sadhan Bhakti up to Madanakya Mahabhav, the definition precisely covers everything. Not too much, not too little. So in this way, it's useful, but if logic is taken independently to understand the subject, you can never understand anything. But if it's used in a spirit of service to serve Shastra, which is authority, then if we understand Shastra Yukti, the logic or the reason of the Shastra, it has some value. Then again, we should not use independent logic to understand the Shastra. Understand? So don't use Yukti to understand the Shastra. Try to understand Shastra Yukti, the logic of the Shastra. So, Rupa Goswami, in the beginning of Bhaktirasa Sindhu, he says, don't go in this fire. Why? And then he quotes a verse from the very famous text called Vakya-padiya by Bhartrihari. Bhartrihari was a scholar, and he wrote about interpretation, about language, about the power of words, how they have meaning. So he has written, Yatnena paditopyartha kushula anumatribihi abhiyuktatama anyer anyataiva upapadyate. It means a logical point which has been established by an expert scholar with all types of very complex and sound reasoning can be completely refuted by another more intelligent scholar. And then that scholar will establish his point. And that cycle of establishment and refutation never ends. It goes round and round and round. And so we explained this morning why that's so. It's because the context of everything is beyond our perception. And therefore, by positing different contexts, the meaning of everything can be changed, and that can go on forever. So, once upon a time, there was a scholar, and he was traveling and he came to a village. And so the villagers said, "Oh Panditji, why don't you stay here for the night? You should spend the night here." The Panditji said, No. I am very much in a hurry on my journey, so I'll keep moving. And there are still some more hours of daylight. I'll continue and I'll take rest in the forest. And the next morning, then I'll continue on my journey. But I'm not going to stop here while there's still some hours to travel. Then the villagers said to him, "Oh Panditji, don't stay at night in that forest, because there's a dangerous tiger there." And then the scholar said, "Oh, I am not worried about any tigers. Do you know the meaning of tiger? Tiger is Vyagra. In Sanskrit, Vyagra. So the word Vyagra comes from Gra, Jigrati Dhatu, this verbal root. Gra Dhatu means Jigrati, he smells. So, you see, if a tiger approaches me in the forest at night, he won't eat me, he'll just smell me. Right? Because the word Vyagra comes from Gra Dhatu, Jigrati, he smells. He'll just sniff me and go away, so there'll be no danger. And I know I'm a pandit. I know about dhatus, verbal roots. So then the pandit, he went into the forest, and night came and he stopped and he made his camp. So he was there, and he was sitting there. He made a little fire, and then he saw two shining lights in the dark moving towards him. And he looked, then he knew oh, it's the eyes of some creature approaching me, some animal. And then as that creature came closer, you could hear. And then he realized, oh, Vyagra, it's a tiger. Jigrati, he smells. He'll just sniff me. And then the tiger jumped and ate him, and he was dead. So, this story is to teach us about the value of scholarship. You may be very expert at Sanskrit and analyzing the etymology of different words. But the reality of your grammatical and etymological analysis and the reality of the world itself are two completely different things. And it will result in disaster. So don't try to understand Shastra through the process of intellect, through the process of etymology and Sanskrit analysis. Because words have their direct dictionary meanings. That is called abhidavriti. And then words have their associative meanings. That's called lakshana vritti. Just like the famous example given in Shastra is Gangayam Goshaha, means the village on the Ganges. So by the dictionary definition, it makes no sense because you can't build a village on the river. So then you cannot take abhidavriti, the direct meaning, you have to take lakshana vritti, that is the associated meaning. So Gangayam Goshaha, village on the Ganges, means village on the bank of the Ganges. So because the bank is associated with the Ganga, therefore we take the word Ganga in terms of its lakshana vritti, associated meaning, rather than its direct dictionary meaning. And so Shastra is like that. First you go for the dictionary meaning, but perhaps that's not the meaning, it should be taken by lakshana vritti. Vedanta Sutra is not like that. Vedanta Sutra, the Mukhya Vritti, that is the main direct meaning should be taken in Vedanta Sutra because it's a philosophical text. But the problem comes in kavya, in poetry, because poets don't like to use direct meanings. For a poet, it's considered to be completely gross to just say something in a straightforward way. The poet always likes to say another expression, and what he wants to convey is in the implication of what he's saying. So the poets generally use lakshana vritti, or especially the third meaning is called vyanjan vritti. So vyanjan vritti means the implied meaning. So Gangayam Goshaha, the implied meaning would be something like this. If you ask me, I want to visit your house, how can I go there? So then I reply, Gangayam Goshaha. My village is on the Ganges. So here the implication is, the meaning is, if you want to visit me, why don't you come by boat? Right? That's the implied meaning. So how can I get there? Oh, it's on the Ganges. So that the meaning is, you can visit me, you can get a boat and come and visit me. Like that. So that's Vyanjabriti. So the Srimad-Bhagavatam, being a kavya, being a poetic presentation of spiritual knowledge, and being full of ras, is practically the entire Bhagavatam is Vyanjambriti. And so if you study it, only taking the dictionary definitions, you will not actually understand what Vyasadeva is presenting there. And because rasa is always expressed poetically, not directly, and the Srimad-Bhagavatam is Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. It's Krishna Bhakti Rasa Swarup, the embodiment of all rasa. And therefore, everything is expressed in that poetic style, not in a direct way. So, Sri Krishna said, Paroksham mamacha priyam, the indirect description is very pleasing and very dear to me. Therefore, yeah, now it's getting a little bit dark. So better to have a torch. Thank you. Yeah. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, there it is said, Nayam atma pravachanena labhyo na medya na bahuna sutena yameva se vrinute tena labhyas tasyas yatmana vibrinute tanum swam. Tasyaishyatma vivrinute tanum swam. The meaning is that one cannot realize the supreme truth by intelligence, by study of the Vedas, even by so much hearing of Vedic mantras, by giving very intellectual discourses. You cannot understand. How can you understand them? Tasyaisatma vivrinute tanum swam. The Supreme Lord is revealed to that person to whom he wants to reveal himself. So how do we understand the essence of the scriptures? That is the Swarup of Sri Krishna himself. Damna swaina sada nirastakokam satyam param dhimahi. That all false arguments, all other ideas and all illusion is only dispelled by his own beautiful Swarup, by his own effulgence, by the realization of his own Dham. That is the conclusion. So, also, it is said, before the world was created, tad aikshata bahusham. He glanced. So the fact that the Supreme Lord glanced before the material universe manifest means that he has senses. And that those senses are not of Prakriti. We have senses, and our senses are parts of the evolutes. They are evolutes of Prakriti. You know, first there's the Pradhan, then Prakriti, then maya-tattva, then ahankar, and then the mind and the senses and the sense objects, and then the gross elements. So like this, Prakriti, all the elements of Prakriti are manifest. But the senses of the Supreme Lord, he glanced before anything was manifest from Prakriti. It means that the senses of the Supreme Lord must be aprakrita, transcendental and supernatural. So in the Mahabharata it is said, Achintya kalo ye bhava na tangstarkena yojayet prakriti bhya paramyatscha cha tad achintasya lakshanam. Everything which is aprakrita, supernatural, is characterized by achintya lakshana, achintasya lakshanam, by inconceivability. The material mind cannot grasp or conceive of anything which is beyond Prakriti. So everything about the Lord is beyond Prakriti. And therefore it said, Natang starkena yojayet. It means you must not apply your logic and reason to those things which are beyond Prakriti, which are of the achintya swarup. They are by nature, achintya swabhav. By their very nature, they are inconceivable. And therefore you must not apply your mundane logic to those things. So here the word yojayet is in the vidiling. That means the verb is in the potential mood. So the potential mood is used to establish rules. So the rule is you must not do it. For example, it said, Paradaran na gatschat. Paradaran na gatschat means you must not enjoy someone else's wife. Vidiling. It's a rule. So in the same way, Achinchu kalu ye bhava natang starkena yojayet. In the same way that it is sinful and you will go to hell by trying to enjoy another man's wife. In the same way, yojayet. You must not apply your material intelligence to the transcendental subject matter, because similarly it will lead to a slippery slope down to the hellish planets. Just as Paradaran nagatschat. You must not try to enjoy with another man's wife. So, therefore it is said, Damna swaina sada nirastakuakam. So our Acharya said that if a person wants to continue arguing after hearing this, then what can we do to stop them? They just want to slide down to a hellish existence. Like there's nothing you can do. They're addicted to that. Atma paragyana-mayo vivada yastiti nastiti bidata nishta vyatopi naivo parameta pungsam maya paravrita dhyam salokat. See, Krishna said to Uddhav that Atma Parigyana-mayo Vivada, those persons who don't have realization of Atma and Paramatma, of realization of God, then what do? They engage in Vivad, argument and counter-argument. They say, Hyastiti, Nastiti, it exists, it doesn't exist. Yes, it does exist. No, it doesn't exist. And they constantly, Vedanta Nishta, they're fixed in this process of quarrel and argumentation. But, Vyatopi naivo parameta pungsam. This discussion that they're in is vyarta. It's completely useless. It has no conclusion. However, they're fixed in it. They cannot escape from it. They cannot come out from it. Why? Maya paravrita dhyam salokat. Because their consciousness is turned away from me. So understand that when a person tries to serve Krishna, glorify Krishna, hear about Krishna, be conscious of Krishna, then transcendental knowledge awakens. But if a person is indifferent to Krishna, then the default mode is that Maya kicks in and they're thrown into the blazing sub-aquatic volcano of constant arguments with no end. So that's the choice, people. Turn towards Krishna and serve Him and actually have a conclusive realization and knowledge, or turn away from Krishna and be stuck in a state of psychological addiction to endless arguments. What shall we do? Therefore, takau pratisthanat tamna swena sada nirasta kokam satyam param dhimahi. Now we're looking a little bit at some of the overall qualities of the verse. This verse contains Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan means to know the relationship between Brahma, Jiv and Maya or Jagat. God, the soul, the living entity, and the universe. That is called Sambandha Gyan. So in this first verse, Sambandha Gyan has been given. You know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to quote, he often quoted a verse from Vishnu Purana. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetra Gyakya Tata Para Avidya Kama Sangyanya Tritiya Shakti Uchyate. The Supreme Lord Vishnu has three potencies. The transcendental energy, that's the internal potency that manifests the spiritual world. The Chaitragya, that is the Jiva, the knower of the field, that is the marginal or the Tatastha Shakti, the Jiva Shakti, and Avidya Kama Sangyanya, the material energy which causes avidya and the fruitive activities in this world. So Vishnu, God's potencies are internal, spiritual potency, external material potency, and the marginal potency that can take shelter of either side, the jiva. So those three potencies have been explained in this first verse. So the words dhamna svena, his own power, his own dham, his own effulgence, describes the internal potency. Then dhimahi describes the jiva shakti. Because we, the many plural jivas, our constitutional position is with devotion to be absorbed in thoughts of God. Dhimahi is the Jiva Shakti. And the external potency has been described by Trisaga Umrisha. That world which is manifested by Trisaga, the three modes of material nature. And the relationships of the three have been established. That if the living entity turns towards the material energy, then what happens to him? Muyanti yatsuraya. He becomes bewildered. And if he turns towards the spiritual potency, then what happens? Nirasta kuakam, all of his illusion goes away. Like that. So, in this way, first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam imparts to us very clear, scientific Sambandha Gyan. Now, very wonderful points. Artho Yam Brahma Sutranam. The sutras of Vedanta are described in Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we've discussed, you can see all the black writing on the board right now. 112, 111, 2111 here, 113, 116, 115, 113, 114. All these black numbers in case you're just arriving today. That shows which sutra of Vedanta is described where in this verse. But also, this verse contains a summary of the entire Vedanta Sutra. So you may know that Vedanta Sutra has 4 chapters. And these 4 chapters each cover a different topic. So the first chapter of Vedanta Sutra is called Samavai, means a reconciliation. And what it looks at is the vocabulary of the Upanishads and how they seem to be describing different things. Maybe one Upanishad is describing that the greatest thing is the Pran. Or something else is describing the greatest thing is the Jyoti, the light. And so on. And where else it's called Brahma. Where else it's called Atma. So the first chapter or pada of Vedanta Sutra reconciles and shows that all the Vedas are talking about one thing, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that chapter is about reconciliation of apparently contradictory terms within the Vedas. So that is called Samavai. And so the first chapter of the Vedanta Sutra is described in the first line, Anvayaditaratascha, meaning by Anvaya, by the direct meanings, and by the indirect meanings, or by the positive affirmations of the Vedas, and the negative disaffirmations of the Vedas, Anvaya and Itara, only one thing is discussed, and that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satyam Param. So the positive affirmations are statements like Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. They tell us that the absolute truth is full of knowledge and eternal and endless and so on. And then the negative affirmations are like questions like, how can the real emanate from the unreal? Or, if the Supreme Truth were not full of joy, then how could anyone care to live? These types of questions, which indirectly or through via negativa, they tell us something about the Supreme Truth. So that is called Anvay and Vyatirek, or Anvay and Itarataha. So the first chapter of Vedanta Sutra is summarized in the first line of this verse. Then, the second chapter of Vedanta Sutra is one of the most interesting chapters. Because that chapter is called Avirodha. And it means the refutation of contrary opinions. So what Vyasadeva does in the second chapter is he looks at each one of the Saddarshans. He analyzes the Nyaya of Gautam Rishi, the logic scriptures. He analyzes the Vaisheshik of Kanad Rishi, atomic theory of Kanad Rishi. He analyzes the Sankhya Darshan of Kapil Rishi. He analyzes Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the Mimamsa Sutras, Purva Mimamsa of Jaimini Rishi and Karma Kanda. He analyzes each one and shows what are their strengths and weaknesses and what are their defects, what can be accepted and what can be rejected. And then what you're left with, that's the conclusion, Vedanta. So, now, the essence of the second pada of Vedanta Sutra is explained here in the second line of the first verse. How? Muyanti Yatsuraya. This is a most beautiful point. The point is who are the Suras in this case? The Suras are Gautam. It said, Muyanti Yatsuraya. By him, even the great demigods or the great learned persons, they are bewildered. So here it means that Gautam Rishi, the author of Nyaya, he was bewildered. Kanad Rishi is bewildered. The Patanjali is bewildered. Kapil Rishi is bewildered. Jaimini Rishi, they're all bewildered. Why? Because they tried to understand the Vedas not by depending on the spurti of Shabda Brahma. You see? Tene Brahma-Hridaya Adi Kavaye Bhuyanti Yatsraya. How did Lord Brahma understand the truth? The Supreme Lord imparted to him the Chatushloki Bhagavatam and told him to cultivate that, and then Yavan Naham Yatha Bhavo Madrupa Guna Kamatmaka Tatraiva Tatya Jigyasam Tatya Vijnanam Astu Te Madanugarahat. The Supreme Lord said, cultivate this knowledge, and by my mercy may you realize Yavan Naham means as much as I am. That means how long are my toes? What is the shape of my arms and my fingers and my nose and ears? Yavan Naham. As much as I am, what are the dimensions of my vigraha? Yavan Naham. Yatha bhavo. How is my bhav? What are my moods? Madrupa guna karmatmaka. And you realize my nam, rup, gun, parika, lila. Tatraiva, tattva vijnanam. That very vijnan realization, astu te madanugrahat, may it be awakened in your heart by my mercy. So the method to know the truth is to receive the Shabda Brahma in Guru Parampara and cultivate that with devotion, and a spurti will come. That spurti is Dhamna Swena Sada Nirastakukam. That realization. But if a person tries to understand the Vedas in another way, by their own reason, in terms of their own samskars and past experience, then what will happen? They'll come up with another idea. And so the fantastic and extraordinary point that's being expressed here is that each of the classical philosophical systems of India are nothing but the byproduct of not availing oneself of the spurti of Shabda Brahma. That's all. All these philosophical systems, Nyaya, Vaisheshik, Yoga, Darshan, are simply the side effects of not accepting the authentic epistemology or method of receiving knowledge, that is the internal spurti, visions arising from receiving Shabda Brahma in Guru Parampara. That's what it means. Nice point, huh? And therefore, the second chapter of Vedanta Sutra, in which the weaknesses or the wrong ideas, misconceptions present in all the classical systems of philosophy are refuted, is beautifully explained here. Tene Brahma-Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya. Lord Brahma received the Shabda Brahma, and by the mercy of the Lord had a spurti in his heart, and all the other sages, Muyanti Yatsuraya, came up with their philosophical systems, because they didn't take to that epistemology, that method of receiving knowledge, which is the true Vedic epistemology. Is anyone starting to like this verse?
Yes.
Huh? You can fall in love with Srimad-Bhagavatam from the first verse. So then, the third chapter of Vedanta Sutra is called Sadhana. It's about sadhana, the method of how to attain perfection. So that is summarized here by Satyam Param Dhimahi. That is the summary of the third chapter of Vedanta Sutra. And then the fourth chapter of Vedanta Sutra is called Phal, means the fruit. If you do the sadhana and you do it perfectly, what do you achieve in the end? And so that is summarized in this verse by the words Param Satyam, the supreme truth. That is, you realize not only the truth, Bhagavan, but Bhagavan in his highest feature, Param Satyam, as a Rasik Shekhar, Sri Krishna.
So you said the sadhana is?
Dhimahi, we meditate. Yeah. It indicates we meditate with devotion, of course. So, now, we mentioned, in Garuda Purana it is said, let me see, 8th 8:13. Okay, no more tattva. Everyone has worked very hard. Now we'll have some dessert. So, Srila Vyasadeva is saying, Satyam Param Dhimahi. We meditate on Supreme Truth. How do we meditate on Supreme Truth? There are two types of meditation. Mantramaya Upasana and Swarasiki Upasana. So Mantramaya Upasana means that you meditate on one lila in one place, in one location in Vrindavan, and that meditation is supported by a verse. So the devotees who are qualified, they are advanced, they've come in the stage Ruchi Asakti, like that. Then they relish so much to take a verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam. They chant Harinam, then they stop for a moment, and then they sing that verse, and then they dive into it and again chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. By doing this, they gain various realizations. One realization here, another realization there. And gradually, as they mature, then all these realizations join together like a garland and begin to flow in their heart naturally, one lila to another lila to another lila. So then that is called Swarasiki Upasana. When there's no plan, it's not a pre-planned experience, but rather one has become absorbed in meditation on one lila, and now that lila is opening and then gets up and all the characters move and go here and then you go along with them. So that is a spontaneous, unplanned meditation. Swarasiki Upasana, natural, spontaneous. So the goal of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, or the special gift, we can say, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam. We mentioned there at Shwaibanalp that the Manobishta, the innermost heart's desire of Mahaprabhu, it has two parts. There is his desire why he came for himself, and the desire what he came to give to others. So there in Shwaibanalp we discussed something about Mahaprabhu's own desire. But what did he come to give to others? My Gurudev used to say, he came to give Madhurya Mai, Kevala Madhurya Mai, Swarasiki Upasana. He came to give us a vision of Vrindavan which is completely sweet, from the perspective of above, which is utterly devoid of any Aishwarya Gyan whatsoever, completely Lokik Sadbandhupat, completely natural, loving relationship. I am a villager from the village of one of the villages in Braja somewhere. Vishabhanu Pure Janamaloye Bhujavat Vibahabe. Oh, when will I take birth in somewhere in Vishabhanupur? And my hand will be given in marriage to a gop in Yavat. So, I am just a resident of that village, and Krishna is the son of Nanda Maharaj, and life is going on somehow or other. So, this very natural Kevala Madhurya Mai Swarasiki Upasana. Mahaprabhu came to give us the chanting of the holy names, which awakens within us this experience of a completely unpredictable and unplanned, unexpected, surprising involvement in untold and never heard before Leelas of Krishna. That's what it really means to chant Shuddhanam. This is what Mahaprabhu came to give us. And to realize our position within those Leelas as Dasi of Srimati Radhika, Kinkari, a maid servant of Radhika, Palya Dasi, under her very affectionate and loving protection. Mahaprabhu came to give this. Now, Srila Sanatana Goswami, in his Bhagavatam at the end, he's given a section called Bhaktirasa. And that Bhaktirasa is whatever, 80 verses or so. And how many? 54. 54, right, yes. So, and these verses, he's explained them, each word very, very beautifully. But he's giving us Mantramaya Upasana. meditations. He's giving mantra maya upasana. So it's a bhakti rasayan. It's for those jivas who, just like a rasayan is a tonic that an Ayurvedic doctor gives. If a person is sick, they take medicine and they're cured and the disease has gone away. But now they're in a convalescence period. They could slip back. To stop them from slipping back and to help them come to their full strength, a rasayan is given, a tonic. So this rasayan is not for the jivas who are completely in maya, and it's not for those who are completely perfect, but for those who have become somewhat free from the influence of maya. Their divine realization is coming, and now it is a rasayan, a tonic, to bring them to full spiritual health and strength. That is, to attain Krishna Prem. So, it looks as if Sanatana Goswami is recommending mantra maya upasana, but our Gurudev, and he is, it's true he is, but our Gurudev has explained that these verses of Bhaktirasa are actually the steps leading to Swarasiku Upasana. We want to go into that spontaneous flow of involvement in Krishna's Leela, but you cannot just go directly there. You'll have to go through Satyam Param Dhimahi, the meditation on these verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam, Satyam Param Dhimahi, that will eventually, they are the steps which lead to that spontaneous realization. So this is the meaning of Satyam Param Dhimahi. So, because we were discussing the last 2 days about Balaram, I thought I would mention some Satyam Param Dhimahi, some mantramaya upasana on the verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which specifically deal with the loving exchange between Krishna and Balaram. So one day, Krishna and Balaram, they're just entering into, their childhood pastimes are coming to an end, and they're about to enter into youth. But it's the nature of Krishna that some of the symptoms of youthful Leela manifest towards the end of his childhood, somewhat prematurely. Because it said the son of a king matures at a rate of 1.5 times that of an ordinary person. So some of the symptoms of the Kishore Leela manifest while the Pauganda Leela is still going on, towards the end of Pauganda Leela. So you know that it said that Krishna's Balya Leela, his babyhood, was made successful by relishing Vatsalya Rasa. His Pauganda Leela was made successful by relishing Sakya Rasa. And his Kishore Leela, Kaishore Leela, was made successful by Madhurya Rasa. But with Krishna, the Madhurya Rasa begins to manifest even in the Pauganda stage, but towards the end. So Krishna and Balaram, they're in that stage. And they're walking through the forest. It said that when Krishna walks through the forest, he tastes Adbhut Rasa, astonishment. Because Vrindavan is filled with such beautiful flowers and trees and waterfalls, which fill the air with the very cool droplets of mist. And so even on a hot day, it's very pleasant, with beautiful varieties of birds and insects and animals, known and unknown. And so the forest of Vrindavan is always a fascinating place for Krishna. So he's walking along with Balaram, keeping his hand on Balaram's shoulder and pointing out the beauty of the forest. And as they're walking, the trees are bursting into bloom, fruits are appearing on their branches and their branches are bowing down. And Krishna said, "Oh brother, just see. The trees are bowing down to you. Pranatadehinam papakashanam." Why? Because to become a tree, you have to be quite sinful. Right? To take birth as a tree, you have to be quite sinful. So those living entities who, due to their sins, have now taken birth as trees, knowing that you are the Adi Purush, they're bowing down to you. And by that they become free from all their sins and become happy. So Krishna's joking with Balaram in this way. Why? Because Lord Brahma has prayed, Tad bhuri bhagam iya janma kimapyatavyam Said Gokulepi katamangarajo abhishekam. I wish I could take birth as anything. And in Braj, a plant or a tree, even a stone. So, there's no question that the trees of Vrindavan are sinful. They are all great personalities doing bhajan in the form of trees. But because from general Naravat human-like perspective, trees we generally say are sinful. So Krishna is saying, look, they're bowing down to you to become liberated. So then Krishna noticed that there was a swarm of bumblebees humming sweetly in the fifth note. Sa-re-ga-ma-pa. And they were following Balaram. So Sri Krishna said, this is a very beautiful verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Ete linastava yasho kila lokatirtam gayanta adi purushanupatam bhajante prayo ami munigana bhavati yamukya godambanepi najahatyanagатma-dhaivam. Oh Balaram, look, Ete alina tava yasho kila lokatirtam. Balaram, your glories are for this world like a holy place, like a tirtha. Like all the tirthas, all the Akila. And for everyone. That means your glories are a place of purification. If anyone will take bath in your glories, they'll become purified. So these glories are being sung, Eite Alina, by these Ali, these bumblebees. Gayanta Adi Purushanupatam Bhajante. And wherever you go, Anupatam, they're following you. Prayo Ami Munigana Bhavadiya Mukya. I think that, Balaram, these bumblebees must be your Bhavadiya Mukya, your Mukya Parikas, your prominent associates. Why? Because if there's a great personality and he has some very confidential secret pastimes, this verse is epic. Even the demigods are approving. If a great personality has some very confidential pastimes, then they're secret and no one can see them. But if they have Bhavadiya Mukya, they have some very chief associates, then those associates may be privy to those secret pastimes. They may be allowed entrance into that. So he's saying that these bumblebees, they must be your chief associates. Why? Because Gudambanepi Najat Anagat-ma-dhaivam. You are Adi Purush. Now Krishna and Balaram, when they talk with each other, because Balaram is also Bhagavan, so Krishna, his knowledge of his own Bhagavata and Balaram's Bhagavata by Yogamaya sometimes manifests. So Krishna is joking with his brother, oh, you are Adi Purush, you are the Mool Sankarshan. So Mool Sankarshan is worshipped by so many rishis, so many sages. But the problem is, Gudam Banepi, even though you are Mool Sankarshan, now you are playing like a simple cowherd boy. So if all these rishis with their long beards and Vedic prayers will show up in a kunj, when you're having some very confidential pastimes, this will not be appropriate. Right? So therefore, Godam Banepi, they have hidden themselves. And by their siddhis, those rishis have transformed themselves and taken the form of bumblebees. And in the form of bumblebees, they're following you wherever you go. So when you have a secret loving pastimes in the kunj, those rishis can go inside and they continue to sing your glories there. Anagatma-dhaivam. And you yourself, you're anagatma. That means you don't take offense. Though they're intruding into your very private life, but you don't take offense because those who are free from sin, they never take offense. We mentioned that the other day. So, in this way, Krishna is joking with Balaram about his private pastimes and how the bumblebees, no one gets to see them, but the bumblebees get to see them. So they must be the Mukya Parika, the chief associates of Sankarshan, assumed the munis who have assumed this inconspicuous form of bumblebees, and you allow them to see your pastimes in this way. So, actually, there's a very beautiful rasa here being relished between Krishna and Balaram. And the rasa is that Krishna is feeling so good. He's feeling so chuffed. He's feeling so happy with himself because his childhood is ending and he's just discovered before he liked stealing butter, climbing trees, wrestling. Now he's discovered gopis. So it's just, Krishna's just feeling so good. And everywhere he looks in the forest, it's reminding him of his own pastimes. And he's so gushing, he's so overflowing with ecstasy of his newly discovered pastimes that he wants to speak about it, he wants to brag about it, he wants to glorify himself. But he knows that that's not really acceptable in polite society. So, on the pretext of glorifying Balaram, Krishna is relishing Sakyaras and Hasyaras with Balaram by glorifying Balaram, but indirectly he's actually talking about himself. So, in Mantramaya Upasana, the devotees may take a verse like this and just sink into the rasa. On the one hand, the Sakya rasa and the Hasya rasa relish between Krishna and Balaram, which is indirectly the expression of Krishna's joy that he's feeling now at the end of his childhood that he's discovered Madhurya rasa. So how do we know that Krishna is not really talking about Balaram? Because that truth begins to peep out in the following verses. So then Sri Krishna said, Dhanyeya madhya dharani trinavirudastvat padas prishodruma lathakaram abhimrishta nadyatraya kagamrika sadayavalokai gopyantarina bujayo apiyat sprihasri. Kill me now. I'm ready to go. How beautiful, beautiful. Krishna said to Balaram, Oh Balaram, today the earth has become successful. Danyayam. Danyayam adya dharani. Dharani means Mother Earth. Why has Mother Earth become successful? Adya today. Danyayam adya dharani. Trinavirudastvat padas prisho. Because the grass which is springing up from the earth has the touch of your lotus feet. The implication is that, oh Balaram, many incarnations came to this world. Lord Varaha touched Mother Earth, picked up Mother Earth from the Garbhadak ocean. Lord Ramachandra came and walked on this earth. But today, Earth's life has become successful because Balaram, she was touched. The hair on her body, that is the grass on the earth, has been touched by your lotus feet, Balaram. Not only that, but who else is Danya? Who else is lucky? Druma lata karajabi mristaha. The trees are lucky. The trees are even more lucky. And the latas, the creepers on the trees are more lucky. Why is that? Because karaja bimrista, they have been touched by your karaja. Kara means hand and ja means bone. So what is born from the hand? The fingernail. The fingernails are born from your hand. If you lose a finger, it will grow again. So the fingernails are called karaja. So, oh Balaram, more fortunate than the earth, which had the touch of your feet, are the trees and the creepers. Why? Because they grow flowers. And by your fingernails you are pinched like that to pluck the flowers. So the trees and the creepers have felt the pinch of your fingernails. So they are more fortunate. And more fortunate. Nadyadraya Kagamriga Pranayavalokai. Nadyadraya. Nadya means the rivers. And the Adri means the mountains. The rivers and the mountains are even more fortunate. Why? Because the rivers have embraced you. Because when Balaram goes to swim in the Jamuna or in any lake, then his whole body is immersed and embraced on all sides by the river. And the caves also, Balaram, he goes into the caves of Govardhan and he's completely embraced by the mountain, right? So, he's saying the rivers and the caves, they are more fortunate today than and more fortunate, Kagamriga, the birds and the deer. Kaga and Mriga. Why? Sadayavalokai. Sadayavalokai. That Sadaya means with daya, with compassion. Avalokai means glances. So the deer and the birds, Balarama glances at them with so much compassion. So the Sadayavalokai, the compassionate glance, this is very, very confidential. Very confidential. When the heroine becomes exhausted from loving pastimes, then the hero looks with compassion. Oh, now she cannot move. This is Sadayavalokai. Or when Krishna has met with any gopis during the day, then in the evening when he is returning to the village, that has been described in the Yugal Gita. Madhavigunita lochana ishat manadasvasuri Dambanamali Badara Pandu Bada No Mridu Ganda Mandana Kanaka Kundala Lakshmyaha. Here Braj Gopi is in the madness of separation from Krishna. They're waiting for Krishna to return from the forest. What's going on? When Krishna is just approaching the village, then the sound of the boys playing their flutes and blowing their buffalo horn bugles, and the ringing of the bells around the necks of the cows, and the cows calling humba humba. It fills the air, and the sky is filled with dust raised from the hooves of the cows. So now the Brijbasis know that soon Krishna will be coming. So at that time, Krishna's seniors, like Nanda Maharaj, Abhinanda, Upananda, his uncles, and along with so many servants carrying boxes with betel nut and other preparations, they come out from the village. At that time, it is mentioned, Manada Swasuridam Banama. Krishna is Banamali. He's wearing a garland of forest flowers, which is decorated with the dust raised by the hooves of the cows. But Krishna himself has no dust on him. Why? Because he's walking and he's surrounded by cowherd boys, and the younger boys, they always have some fan, and they flick away the dust, and they keep the dust off the body of Krishna. But they cannot flick away the dust from the garland because the petals are so soft, and if they'll do that, then the garland will be damaged. Now the cowherd boys, they always keep wrapped in a cloth so many fresh garlands, so when one of the garlands of Krishna gets dusty, they can just come and replace it with a fresh one. But they're not replacing this garland. Why? Because it was given by Radhika. And so Krishna is coming back after enjoying beautiful pastimes with Radhika. Now he's returning in the evening, and there's a period of intense separation. But just to show that he's not forgotten, that he's remembering her, Krishna is not letting the boys change his garland. Therefore, Manada Swasuridam Banamali. He's showing, Manada means giving respect. He's giving respect to Radharani by wearing her garland. Madhavigunita Lochana Ishat. As he's approaching the village, Nanda Baba comes out. And when Krishna sees his father, he's so overwhelmed with love, Madha Vigurnita. Means he becomes intoxicated seeing Nanda Baba. The love intoxicates him. Lochana Ishat, and his eyes, they close a little and they roll. His pupils roll up. You know, if someone is in ecstasy or someone is intoxicated, then they go like this. So as Krishna is entering the village, seeing his father, the Vatsalya Prem of Nanda Maharaj is so intense that Krishna's eyes roll with intoxication. Just seeing Nanda Maharaj, Upananda, Abhinanda, his uncles. Mahadavi Garnita Lochana Ishat Mahanada Swasuritam Banamali Krishna to Swasurit, his own family members, Manada, he's respecting them. The implication is that actually to seniors you should give pranam, Dandavat pranam. But because Krishna is not yet old enough, he's not yet fully mature, so he's not expected to follow all the etiquettes. So at least Krishna just with his head, when he sees his seniors, he goes like this, bows his head a little, and that's okay. Manado swasuridam banamali badara pandu bada no mridu ganda, and his face is a badara pandu means what? White, pale. You know that Pandu was born because his mother, she had to conceive him with Vyasadev. Right? And Vyasadev was very long beard, long haired, been doing austerities in the forest. He was quite a frightening figure. So when she saw him, then she became pale. And she conceived a pale child and he became known as Pandu. So, Pandu means pale. So here, Krishna looks pale. How? Like a badara. But have you seen the badri berry? Yeah. They're somewhat reddish, but when they're first growing, it's like a pale red. So see Krishna from taking the cows to graze the whole day, and he's quite tired, and the evening is coming. So his face looks very sweet. He's become a little bit pale from fatigue. So Badara Pandu Badano Mridu Ganda, and his cheeks look very soft and kissable. And those cheeks are illuminated, Mandana Kanaka Kundala Lakshma, by the light emanating from his golden Makara Kunda, shark-shaped earrings. So this is a general meaning. And the inner meaning, when he's coming back, then he's feeling intoxication. Why? Because Braja Gopis, they've gone to the roofs of their houses, to their balconies, to their gateposts. And as he's entering into the village, then he's looking. And when he sees those Braja Gopis, remembering the confidential pastimes which had happened during the day earlier, then his eyes are rolling in intoxication. And he's giving honor to them. He's giving honor to Radhika by wearing her garland. He's giving honor by glancing towards them. And his face is pale, not because of the fatigue of grazing, taking the cows to graze, but from the fatigue of separation. From the arrow, he's wasting away from the arrows of Cupid that he's feeling in separation from the Braja Gopis. And when the Braja Gopis see his soft cheeks and his earrings, then the earrings stand out to them, because it is one of the symptoms of Madanakya Mahabhav, Ayogya Vastu Stuti, to give praise to that object which is actually not worthy of praise. So the earrings are just earrings, but due to the Madanakya Mahabhav, Radharani thinks, how wonderful are these earrings, that they can kiss the cheeks of Krishna again and again. Like that. Yeah. So, in this way, when Krishna is entering the village and Braj Gopis see him and they're feeling separation and they they have so many obstacles. They cannot express their feelings, they cannot express their desire. They have to hide everything in the presence of their seniors. Krishna knows how they feel and he looks at them sadayavalokai, with a compassionate glance. So here Krishna is saying to Balaram, and the earth is fortunate, the trees are fortunate, the creepers are fortunate, the rivers are fortunate, the caves are fortunate, and more fortunate are the birds and the deer, because they are the recipients of sadavalokai, the compassionate glance which comes at the end of the loving pastimes, or later when they meet and they have to hide everything. Krishna glances with compassion towards them. So then Krishna said, and most fortunate, gopyantarena bhujayor apiyats prihasri, means, and most fortunate are, here gopya means, there's one type of creeper which is very dark called gopya. So these dark creepers of the forest, these sham-colored creepers, antarena bhujayor, bhuja means two arms, it's in the dual case, and antarena, what is inside the two arms? So antarena bhujayor means the chest. So, and most fortunate are these dark creepers which have been embraced to your chest, Balaram. And why are they most fortunate? Because that fortune is desired. Apiyat spriha sri. Even Lakshmi Devi desires that fortune. So now the truth has come out that Krishna is not actually talking about Balaram. Because there's no evidence anywhere in Shastra that Lakshmi Devi has done austerities to get the embrace of Balaram. Kasyana bhavosya na deva bidmahe tavangrenom sparashadikara yadvancha shila lanacha tapo vihaya kaman suchiram drida brataha. The wives of Kaliya, they prayed, oh my Lord, we don't know what austerities this wicked snake has done to get the touch of your foot dust upon his head, when even Lakshmi Devi, desiring that, abandoned Vaikuntha and has been doing austerities for a long time. So it's Lakshmi Devi who aspires for the association of Krishna. It's not mentioned that she aspires for the association of Balaram. So Krishna's secret comes out in the end that actually, as a joke, because of Sakyaras and because of Hasaras and because of his inability to contain the jubilation that he's feeling, now he's discovered Madhurya Rasa, finally it comes out that actually he was talking about himself all the time. Kopyantarena bhujayo apiyat spriha sri. So he was never talking about Balaram, he was talking about himself, and he was never really talking about the fortune of the earth. He wasn't talking about the trees, or the creepers, or the caves, or the deer, or anything. He was talking about the fortune of the Braj Gopis, because the Gopis are for, he's not saying directly, this is all Vyanjan Briti. By Vyanjan Briti, he's talking about the Gopis are fortunate today because their hair stood on end when they took his lotus feet on their heart. The Gopis are fortunate today when they feel the pain of the pinch of his fingernails. The Gopis are fortunate today when they embrace him fully with their whole bodies like rivers and caves. And Gopis are fortunate today because they received his sadayavalokai, his compassionate glances, and they attained a position on his chest which was desired even by goddess of fortune. So like in this way, Krishna, by Vyanjan Briti, Krishna is saying all of these things, but not directly saying. Paraksham mamacha priyam. It's more, Krishna said, it's more dear to me to express in an indirect way. So in this way, the devotees, they relish the loving relation between Krishna and Balaram, and through the medium of such verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam, they taste the Bhaktirasa, the tonic which gives them complete spiritual strength and Prem, and relish opens the door to the Swarasik Upasana of all the various confidential pastimes of Krishna and Gopis are hidden in this verse. So the mantra Maya Upasana on this will turn into the revelation of the Swarasiki Lila. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara. Goy Premanande Hari Hari Bo. It's Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, verse number I don't remember exactly. No, Dhenukasur. in the beginning, and at the end, Pitva Makunda Rasa Akshibringai. At the end, it's indicated. In this chapter, there are so many verses which indicate the confidential meeting of Radha and Krishna. Go and study the chapter. Either side of the killing of Denakasura, in the beginning and at the end, there are verses which indicate.
Krishna walking with Balram. It's before the Kali Arena?
No. Chapter 15, Denakasubad. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.